I will kindly ask everyone to mute your mics, please.
Sound is coming from Mr. Greatembo. Yeah, okay. Thanks.
We'll begin in 1 minute. Okay, we start the conference now. Ladies and gentlemen, and guests from all over the world, I want to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you may be attending this conference. On behalf of Binary University of Management and Entrepreneurship in Malaysia, I want to formally welcome you to this year's conference, which is titled Powering Supply Chain Networks Beyond the COVID-19 Pandemic, Lessons and Way Forward. As we all know, the COVID-19 pandemic has been a bottleneck in all spheres of our society. This conference will be an exciting opportunity for research scholars, practitioners, and academics within the supply chain, logistics, operations, and materials management paradigm to exchange knowledge, information, and experiences within the respective themes of this conference. I want to formally welcome, with great pleasure, all the paper presenters of our conference, which is going to happen within the next 2 days. I welcome all eminent speakers and guests, most especially our keynote addressers and special address speakers. The main outcome of this conference is to come up with dialogues, solutions, and profile recommendations going forward for our world today, which is challenged by a lot of uncertainties. Thank you very much for sparing your time and your knowledge, and we sincerely hope that you will have a refreshing time in this conference. Without wasting much time, I want to say that this conference will field different research topics that is emanating from different countries, and this will be evident from about 12 international speakers. We will have quality time discussing and asking questions in a platform that I would like to refer to as a cross-fertilization of ideas. It is my pleasure to welcome the head of the research of Binary University, Professor Dr. Asif Mahbub Karim, to give 1 or 2 words as a welcome to our attendees and presenters today. Over to you, Professor Dr. Asif.
Thank you very much, the convener for today's international conference, Dr. Rosaro. Okay, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, researchers, our honorable vice chancellors, our director, our international collaboration, professors, fellow researchers from around the globe where you have joined in. This is indeed a great pleasure and a great auspicious moment for me to inform that this is the 3rd international conference that Binary have organized this particular year. And we have seen huge responses from around the globe for the researchers, because all the Binary international conferences are very much the timely needed topics and very much the areas on which the researchers are doing their research around the globe. So this is going to be, again, another 2 days of very interesting learning sessions as a researchers carnivals from the globe. And I really welcome you all on this platform. And thank you, Dr. Rosaro, for organizing this such a wonderful conference. We're looking forward to this. And I would just like to welcome all by showing a corporate video of Binary University to all of you. Just enjoy the video. Just a brief introduction about the Binary University. Established in 1984, one of the oldest private universities in Malaysia, is rated as 5-star, which is excellent university by the Ministry of Education. The only university in the world that produces industry specialist professional graduates or ISPs. Malaysia's first entrepreneurship university, specialized in producing entrepreneurial managers, entrepreneurial IT professionals, entrepreneurial accountants, and entrepreneurs. Patronized by international students from over 60 countries. International recognitions are so important for an international university like Binary. We are recognized, among others, from the Association of Commonwealth Universities, International Associations of Universities, UNESCO, Association of Indian Universities, MQA, is a Malaysian qualification agency, the UK NARIC. Just a view of the City Tower campus. And let's enjoy the small corporate video.
Binary University was established in 1984. It's the oldest business school in Malaysia. The university actually is focused in management, IT and entrepreneurship education.
At Binary University, we believe in producing wholesome students. This means that we focus not only on the academic performance of students and academic activities, but also on non-academic activities.
Classes are very interactive, they're very related to what's going on in business and in industry. Students are able to interact with each other, get to know each other. Very often we put them into small groups, small clusters. Maybe if you've got a classroom of 20 students, you may have 4 groups of 5 students. So you may have 4 different case studies, all being analyzed and discussed.
Our university is good for 2 reasons. One is, of course, the academic part of the degrees that we provide is recognized internationally, and we are a specialized university. We produce graduates who are industry specialist professional graduates or ISP graduates. The industry specialization gives graduates a competitive advantage to work anywhere around the world in the industries they have chosen to specialize. And this is the reason why that Binary enjoys the highest graduate employability among all universities in Malaysia. We have 96% graduate employability compared to the national average of 75%.
Through this, I met many business people and entrepreneurs who shared their knowledge with me, and I learned many aspects of entrepreneurship from them.
The Asia Center of Entrepreneurship in Binary University has exposed me and my friends to the relevant people in the various industries who have shared with us their experiences, their successes, their failures and fears along their journey on entrepreneurship.
Fine. I hope you have enjoyed the corporate video. Over to you, Dr. Saro, for finishing the program.
Okay, thank you very much for that beautiful video, Prof. Asif. We will move ahead with the program right now, and permit me at this point to take up the honorable role to introduce our special address presenter today, in no other person than the Vice Chancellor and Chief Executive Officer of Binary University. It is my honorable pleasure to introduce Professor Dr. Solochana Nair. Professor Sulo, prior to her appointment, she was attached to the Faculty of Economics and Administration at the University of Malaya, and she served in various capacities. She was Associate Professor and Head of the Department of Development Studies and the founding Director of the Center for Poverty and Developmental Studies, the CPDS. In 2010, she was appointed as an expert consultant to CPDS and an advisor to FEA. With a specialization in developmental studies, Professor Sulo works on poverty, labor, gender, and rural development. In addition to providing policy inputs to the government, Prof. Sulo Chananaya is also involved in teaching, consultancy, training, and capacity building programs for Central Asia and Cambodia. Her research focus has been on poverty, income distribution, labor, gender, and entrepreneurship. She serves on the board of trustees of the Sejatra Foundation, which is a poverty-focused NGO, and the Gandhi Memorial Trust. On the 5th of March 2019, the Ministry of Higher and Secondary Specialized Education of the Republic of Uzbekistan and the Tashkent Institute of Finance conferred upon Professor Sulo Chana the title of Honorable Professor in recognition of outstanding contributions to international education. Ladies and gentlemen, can we, with our sincere gratitude, introduce and welcome Professor Sulo for the special welcome address. Over to you, Professor Sulo. Can you unmute your mic, Prof?
Good morning, good afternoon to all the paper presenters and participants. Assalamu alaikum, as I'm still in Uzbekistan, and what you see behind me is yet another global operation of Binary University, Malaysia. And right now it's about 11:23 a.m. in Uzbekistan. So good morning here. First of all, I want to congratulate and thank the organizers and the paper presenters for coming together to put together a very, very important conference. The global pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, has ravaged the whole world, and the effects are on every sector, every dimension, on our everyday lives, and also on various other issues. And more recently, we have seen a lot of conferences that are being organized around the impact on the poor, on the social side of people's lives, on education, health, etc. One dimension that has not been actually captured very much in international conferences is the global supply chain. And we realized how vulnerable we are when global supply chains are actually interrupted. And I'm very glad that Osaro has put together this very important conference, when suddenly we run out of various things and we realize that our suppliers are located in China and various other parts of the world, and we can't get access. And this has affected various aspects. Household commodities, it's affected the manufacturing sector, it has affected pharmaceuticals, as well as components in various gadgets that we use. As a result, there's not been much attention that's been paid to the global supply chain, and I'm very glad that this conference is coming together. When I was doing a little bit of reading on this global supply chain, there are various things, and we are looking at it in the post-pandemic. We are not quite in the post-pandemic, but there are various measures that can be put in place to ensure that if another pandemic hits, the manufacturing sector and other components of the supply chain are better prepared. Here, the global pandemic caught everybody by surprise. So there is a very interesting article by Harvard Business Review, which states that there are several things that the businesses can actually do in order to prepare themselves for another pandemic. And there are about 5 factors that they've identified. I'll just put it on I'll just look at my points for a minute. Okay, the challenge for the companies will be to make their supply chains more resilient without weakening their competitiveness. And first of all, to meet that challenge, managers of companies and businesses should understand their vulnerabilities and consider a number of steps. The first thing is to uncover and address hidden risks. Secondly, they have to identify their vulnerabilities. They have to diversify their supply base. They have to hold intermediate inventory or safety stock, take advantage of process innovation, and revisit the trade-off between product variety and capacity flexibility. So this is very important, and I am sure that in the 2 days of deliberations, you're going to cover various dimensions. I've had a look at the itinerary, and I think it's a very full itinerary. Unfortunately, I cannot stay with you all for the rest of the program because I've got various programs and messages coming in as to why I'm not in the office yet. So with that, on that note, I would like to wish you a very interesting, a productive, and a very successful conference. And let's look forward to more conferences that are not so much talking about the impact of the pandemic. The impact of the pandemic, I think we all are aware. But I think, what do we do when the pandemic is tapering off and when it's slowly ending? I do not think it's ever going to end. We will have to live with the virus and the pandemic, but the main thing is to stay sensible, stay safe, and not take unnecessary risks. So to all the global participants, presenters, and my team in Malaysia, stay safe and keep well and enjoy the conference. Thank you very much, Osaro, and I will have to leave you to get back to my other chores in the university.
Well, thank you very much, Prof. Solo. As usual, you've delivered a very educative address. Prof. Solo, by the way, is a professor with a wealth of knowledge in different areas and different endeavors. So it's so easy to get her to speak on almost any topic. I'm pretty sure you've gained 1 or 2 things from her welcome address. Thank you very much, Prof, for your presence and your address. At this point in time, I would also like us to listen to our keynote address. Today, we will be getting an address from an eminent personality who had his tertiary education in 3 different continents. He holds a bachelor's degree from Ladoke Akintola University of Technology. He holds a master's degree in information technology, and he also has a master's degree in business administration with a specialization in data analytics. He holds a doctoral degree in information technology with a specialization in information systems. Our keynote presenter is well-versed in artificial intelligence and analytics and a lot of areas in information technology. Hence, he'll be sharing with us his knowledge on the artificial intelligence, logistics analytics, and IT aspect of supply chain. He is also a cybersecurity enthusiast, and he has more than 10 years of experience in academics. He has presented his research findings in many international information system conferences, and also he has published research articles in high-quality peer-reviewed journals. Our keynote presenter is very well cited in the academic field, and this can be evidenced in the large amount of citations that is attached to his name. Currently, he is a co-principal investigator of a $5 million US grant in Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics from the United States Department of Education. He serves at the moment as the chair of the Computer Information Technology Department at the Schreiner University in Texas, United States of America. He's also an assistant professor at the same university. Permit me at this time to welcome Dr. Ayokunle Taiwo, our keynote presenter for today. Dr. Taiwo, you're welcome to present your keynote address. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Osaro. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, thank you very much. Please, my sincere apologies. I just couldn't get my camera working. All right. Once again, my name is Ayankunle Taiwo. I'd like to appreciate the leadership of Binary University for giving me this opportunity to come and share one or two things that I know about supply chain, cybersecurity, and artificial intelligence. Thank you very much for this opportunity. So very briefly, the outlines that I'll be going through this, it's actually early in the morning here in the US, about 1:30 a.m. So the outlines we'll be going through is going to be, I'll give a little bit of introduction, security challenges and supply chain industry, cyber attacks and supply chain, and then I'll talk about one or two potential solutions that can be preferred. It's important for us to understand that logistics firms are actually very responsible for carrying or transporting almost all our needs from one location to the other. And during the lockdown as a result of COVID-19, there was a lot of huge burden, or let's say sacrifice, that logistic firms have to actually carry. And if we could remember very vividly that when almost all the economy were shut down one way or the other, the logistics industry or supply chain has to continue. And it seems as if they actually were the one that was carrying us throughout all the pandemic. They actually made sure that we have a grocery item, our food supplies, medication, and while every other industry somehow shuts down, the logistics company actually industry continue to keep us alive one way or the other, while the healthcare professionals um, try to keep us safe and alive also, but they were the ones that continue to actually go on. And then also it's important for us to also remember that while the COVID-19 pandemic was going on, the air and the maritime freights actually crashed because they just couldn't get anything to get going in any way. But somehow the industry came back to life due to the work from home economies, and that's when almost all the countries started opening up and um, allowing people to actually work remotely. And because people have to work remotely, you discover that um, somehow the logistic industry came alive, because uh, the fact that a lot of people have to work from home implies that they need a lot of supplies, uh, both supplies for them, PPE, talking about the uh, mask, facial mask, hand sanitizer, everything that they need one way or the other to work remotely, or to actually work even from the organization in such a way that you don't have a lot of people in different capacity, maybe 15% capacity, 10%, 25%, 50% capacity, you find out that everything that is needed, um, it's the courier and the logistic industry that actually made this possible. And when the vaccine actually finally came, the burden was actually laid on the logistic industry to uh, make this vaccine available from one location to the other. And a little bit of a tricky thing around the distribution of the vaccine is that because of the temperature to which some of this vaccine has to be kept in, uh, so that actually brings another burden for them to make sure that um, the vaccines are transported, they get to even to the rural areas, to the countryside, and in the right condition. Because if they get there and the temperature is a little bit off, the vaccine becomes, it's not useful anymore. And we do actually rely on the big names like DHL, FedEx, UPS, and the national courier in each and every country um, for all the supplies that we need. Even the students uh, and even elementary, middle school, high school students and college students, they were all receiving classes or lectures remotely. And all these big operators are the ones that actually continue to do it, to work relentlessly. And they also work with lesser known operators. And this brings about high volume network because they are connected one way or the other. And the fact that they have high volume network connection implies that they have to be reliant on highly automated information systems. And the level of the high information, the automated information systems brings about a new attack vector. This particular vector has always been there, and that has to do with cybersecurity, whereby hackers are actually attacking the networks and attacking the information system. These connected information system that the logistics or the industry actually use is heavily attacked. Uh, there's some of it that we do not actually hear, or it's not made known to everyone. But one way or the other, you have this attack going on, and this industry just continues to deal with it one way or the other while providing services to their customers. Um, so some of the security challenges that we do have in supply chain industry, just because of these interconnectivity of networks between the big, the known names like FedEx, DHL, and the rest of them, and other national operators in every country, and then those lesser known operators, brought about some issues. And I like to just go back a little bit in memory lane. From in 2017, you have the global NotPetya ransom attack on Mask, which is a Danish firm, uh, which is well known by in the logistics industry. And what happened at this point in time was that the information system, the network of Mask was actually compromised by ransomware in such a way that the company actually find it very difficult to operate for several days. And at the end of the day, it cost the organization about 250 million to 300 million dollars before they could actually bring back their systems to be functioning properly. And also in the year 2018, Costco shipping line was also attacked in such a way that it affects the global business, and they were actually shut down for a while because of ransomware from hackers. So these kind of cybersecurity attacks are actually common, and it's the ransomware attacks are now coming. It's becoming so common, and it's on the rise. And the pandemic actually just brought out a lot of actually made hackers to be aware that you have, because the logistics or the supply chain industry was the only one that was in operation. So that actually made hackers or individuals with malicious intent to be able to focus on these organizations. And a company called Blue Variant is a cybersecurity organization in New York, here in the US, actually conducted an investigation and found that um, a lot of logistics organization companies are actually vulnerable. So it's so easy for um, many for hackers or individuals with malicious intent to easily attack these organizations. Um, so because of the the little protection that most of these organizations have in protecting their database, protecting most of the things that their information system, you find that they're highly attacked. And in the year 2020, when during the pandemic, specifically in Israel, attacks on the shipping industry actually increased about 400%, and in such a way that even cyber attacks against operational technology that has to do with the moving of the crane and everything like that in the maritime industry also increased by 900%, according to the Naval Dome report. So this is just the little ones that we know about these attacks, or the ones that are reported by the by some organization. Now, a one of the things that we discover in cybersecurity, we find that some of the um, all the organizations that were hacked one way or the other, their information is on the dark web. And the dark web is a place where you have individuals with malicious intent actually going there to solicit or try to get information on organizations to which there there are vulnerabilities on their network, and somehow um, their network how shall I say, their network configuration is available for sale. So um, exploit is it's a particular forum that you have on the dark web where you have individuals on the dark web try to do what they try to uh, they talk about it's like boasting about the things that they've done or what they have, and what they do on this forum is just to try to sell information. And we discover that a lot of information on logistics company is actually there. For example, this shows that you have someone that is saying that is available to buy whatever access to any US trucking company, and actually giving a price that if you have this, I'm available to buy it. Um, and then furthermore, you've got another individual that is saying that, oh, regarding that he has network access to a particular US company, and is actually ready to do what? To sell it. Here it's saying that it has finance and employee information and is ready to sell it for about $1,000. And this is just uh, I'll say this is just the bottom, like the lowest fee that they could actually charge. A lot of them actually charge more than these. So you have individuals with malicious intent that actually goes here and purchase all these information about logistics company, and then they hold them to ransom afterwards. So ransomware is actually very, very rampant, because what these individuals with malicious intent want to do is to hold the organization to ransom. Since they have the username, they have all the network address or the network information of the organization. They get into the server and they make it not available to the organization anymore. And then they request that the organization actually pays them So this is another information that was received on the dark web, that talks about an individual saying he's willing to. He said, "I will sell access to a logistic company through a guarantor." So this individual is trying to be very, very. He's trying to play safe, but what he's saying is that he has that information on how to actually attack a logistics organization, and is ready to sell it. So here in 2021, what I like to discuss here on that cyber attacks on supply chain is that of the JBS. Is a food company that here in the US that has to do with food production and distribution, and they're from the latest victim of the ransomware attack on the food supply chain. Um, so on May 30th, 2021, the organization actually discovered that some of its servers supporting the North American and Australian IT systems were targeted in a cybersecurity attack. Um, the good thing is that this JBS actually have they have a very good incident response and uh, and restoration policy in place that could actually get them running back in just a couple of days. So the potential solution that we could actually prefer to use in terms of protecting the supply chain industry is to think about uh, the implementation of artificial intelligence um, in the field of cybersecurity. Uh, and how can we actually do this? We can do this through increase in threat intelligence, and that has to do with predictive analytics, vulnerability scanning, and threat hunting. Threat hunting has to do with um, you have cybersecurity specialists making sure that you do not have um, logistics or supply chain um, organizations information on the dark web. And then the second thing is to ensure that proper vulnerability scanning is done on a continuous basis to know what are those weak spots in the company, and to be able to see how to actually block those weak spots. In cybersecurity, we have what we call penetration testing. Penetration testing actually allows you to look at how is it possible for someone to break into a particular network or a particular software or a particular application. And once that vulnerability is detected um, via maybe vulnerability scanning or through penetration testing, then the cybersecurity specialist actually make sure that uh, that particular vulnerability is actually blocked in such a way that it's not going to be easy um, for someone with malicious intent to actually break in or take the company into ransom. Now, the next thing to ensure to do is to implement a proper IT hygiene and email security. Oftentimes than not, one of the ways to which individuals with malicious intent or hackers actually get hold of information for them to be able to attack a logistics firm is through the personnel in the organization. So they send out phishing email, and once the individual actually clicks on the link in the phishing email, the hackers actually have access to the servers or to the network entirely. I can remember sometimes last year, an employee in Twitter actually opened a phishing email and clicked on the link inside, and that's how um, some script kiddies, so to say, were able to have access into the Twitter server, and they had access to um, Biden's information on the posted on his site, have access to Obama's information, Twitter account and they posted on the site. So these guys that attacked Twitter at this point in time do not really have any malicious intent. They just wanted to prove a point that they can actually access it. But when it comes to the logistics or the supply chain industry, individuals that attack the supply chain industry are interested in actually taking the company ransom, and that they do that through ransomware. So proper IT hygiene and email security and proper cybersecurity awareness training for employees that actually serves in both the logistics and the supply chain industry is actually going to help a lot. Another thing that can be done that is going to be a potential solution is strong risk management policy. And the risk management policy is actually going to significantly assist the organization in such a way to be able to know how to have policy in place to mitigate anything that has to do with cybersecurity risk. Now, because going forward, there is the focus of hackers or individuals with malicious intent on that particular industry is now the focus is high, and the industry is actually working seriously on automating a lot of its processes. Now, because a lot of the processes in supply chain industry is being automated, it's easy for individuals with malicious intent that have access to the network or the server to actually take control of it or access to do something else that they don't want it to do. Imagine you have hackers actually get into servers and the network of most of the maritime industry organizations, and they reroute these ships to different areas, or they decide to block the canal of different maritime areas around the world. We're going to run into a lot of trouble. And so it's important for each supply chain industry organization or logistics firm to make sure they have very strong risk management policy in place. Lastly, I'd like to talk about the needs to actually have a chief information security officer. So part of the studies that was conducted, the survey that was conducted earlier this year, shows that most of these logistics or supply chain industry firms do not really have a chief information security officer. The the job of a chief information security officer is to make sure that the organization is protected against whatsoever form of cyber attack. So many of these firms just have an IT manager or director or vice president of information system, but the job of these guys are actually multifaceted in the sense that they have so many things to focus on. But that of the chief information security officer is actually going to focus basically on everything that we have over here, on the encryption of all the communication, to make sure that there is security architecture in place, penetration testing is done, and to actually monitor all the engineers, the database security, incident response, to monitor almost all these aspects to be able to protect the organization. So those are some of the potential solutions that I could see in place. These are some of the references that I have, and thank you very much. Does anyone have a question for me?
Thank you very much, Dr. Katie. It's been a very enriching address from you. I'm pretty sure everybody here has gained a lot in your talk about cybersecurity, AI, and logistics analytics in the supply chain and logistics industry. I appreciate that from you. We will just entertain one question from the audience, if you may. If not, we could go ahead with the rest of the program. Ms. Shini is asking a question. I may just read it out, and this will be the only question we will entertain for today. To Dr. Katie, are we ready for AI-powered supply chain management systems? Looking at recent phishing attack campaigns using botnets as well as ransomware attack, and what's the expected solution?
Oh, Shini, thank you very much. It is somehow, I say that somehow we're already actually using some of these some artificial, one way or the other, we're using artificial intelligence in most of these information systems that is used by these supply chain organizations. You understand? But what we've not been able to do, especially anytime we talk about automation, artificial intelligence is in place one way or the other. An aspect that we leave out so much when we're talking about AI-powered solution is the data engineering and data analytics aspect of it. So one way or the other, I'll say we're in that direction, but the best way I can actually respond to that is that the only way we can protect the industry going forward is just to make sure that we have those cybersecurity protection in place, because it's going to get to a time whereby most of those solutions are going to that we use in SCM is going to be so outdated. You understand? And in a place where we have Internet of Things and so many other, we have cloud computing and the rest now in place, we do not really have any choice going forward to make sure that we are ready for it. And part of the things to which we can do to make sure that the industry is actually ready for AI solutions is to make sure that all the industry, the network in the industry, the employee in the industry know so much about cybersecurity. They have the cybersecurity awareness education. And then for all our solutions to be cybersecurity ready in one way or the other. And that's by the time we go full-fledged on artificial intelligence powered solutions, then we'll not be able to have so much. But we'll not be able to regret it. Let me put it that way. However, hello? Yeah. So we'll not be able to regret it. But I'll say that we just have to keep moving with the technology. There's some things you don't put completely online. You still have to have that human intervention. But oftentimes I know people think about artificial intelligence, they think about robotics, but it has to do with the data engineering and predictive analytic aspect of it also. I don't know whether I responded to your question, Shini.
Yeah, I think you've done that. Thank you very much, Dr. Katie. This has been a very interesting talk, and I'm pretty sure that you've been able to touch on very many areas that border around IT security in the supply chain and logistics. We're very grateful for that. Okay, to the audience, to everybody, if you've got any question, I would encourage you to leave your question in the chat box, and it will be attended to. We would like to move ahead to the main part of the program today, which is the meat of the dish that we are serving to you. Today, we're going to be receiving different paper presentations from researchers all over, and they're going to be talking about really interesting topics. Okay, so for the paper presentations, we will be having 6 presentations from different speakers. For each paper presenter, please take note that you have only 10 minutes, a maximum of 10 minutes to make your presentation, and it will be followed by 5 minutes question and answer from our panelists. Our honorable panelists today are made up of two individuals. First of all, we have the head of the research in Binary University, Professor Dr. Asif, who is going to be leading the panelists today. And then we also have Professor B.P. Chandra, also from Binary University. These make up the panelists today, guys. And another note of information is that we're going to be having presentations from the different tracks of this conference. And just as a way of reminder, we've got the supply chain risk management track, we've got the maritime and transport logistics track, we've got the artificial intelligence, logistics analytics, and automation track, and then we have the operations and materials management track. I would employ the following presenters to get ready their slides for presentation. Abhinaya Raju, Dr. Nagarenita, Dr. Surega Felix, Mohammed Al-Balushi, Priya, and Ranga Nayagi. Forgive me if I mumbled up your name. I'm pretty sure in due course I would pronounce it very well. Okay, so like I said earlier on, as members of the audience, if you've got any question for any of the presenters, please, I would encourage you to leave it in the chat box and they would respond to it. Without much ado, I would want to welcome us to the first presentation with a title, A Study on the Role of Artificial Intelligence in Managing Physical Distribution of Medicines in the pharmaceutical industry during the COVID-19 pandemic. This paper will be delivered by Abhinaya Raju, who is an assistant professor at Fatima College, Madurai, Tamil Nadu, India. Over to you, Assistant Professor Raju. Please, you may share your screen as you make your presentation. Abhinaya Raju, are you here? Okay, we've got her here now.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Abhinaya Raj. Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone.
Yes, good morning. We can hear you.
I'm Abhinaya Raju from Fatima College, Madurai, Tamil Nadu, India. I'm here to present my paper on a study on the role of artificial intelligence in managing physical distribution of medicines in pharmaceutical industry during COVID-19 pandemic. First of all, I would like to thank my college, Fatima College, Autonomous Madurai, Tamil Nadu, India. And I would like to thank the Binary University for giving me this opportunity to present my paper today. This paper seeks to give an awareness about the role of artificial intelligence in the physical distribution of medicines in pharmaceutical industry. The physical distribution of medicines is very essential for timely supply of essential medicines to needy patients. The proper management of the physical flow of medicines should be planned by the pharmaceutical industry to make the supply more efficient. Coronavirus pandemic has created so many interruptions in the physical flow of essential amenities due to the tight lockdown, which stopped the free transportation between the in the national and international level. Especially the medical field faced a lot of problems in the physical distribution of medicines to the needy patients. The usage of artificial intelligence in the pharmaceutical industry made the proper flow of medicines to the patients in a very easy manner. Thus, the contribution of artificial intelligence in the physical distribution of medicines is discussed in this paper. Coming to the important keynotes, that is supply chain management. Supply chain management is the management of the handling of entire production flow of a goods or services, starting from the raw components all the way to delivering the final products to the consumer. Then physical distribution. Physical distribution refers to the movement of finished goods from a company's distribution and fulfillment network to the end user. Artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is the simulation of human intelligence processes by machines, especially computer systems. Then COVID-19 pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic, also as the coronavirus pandemic, is an ongoing global pandemic of coronavirus disease 2019 caused by severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2. Then now I'm moving on to the background of the study, that is the background of the research. The coronavirus pandemic made a severe interruption in the physical movement of important products, especially medicines. But now this problem is handled by the introduction of artificial intelligence in the pharmaceutical industry. And it is very much helpful to deliver the medicines to the needy patients without contacting them physically. The introduction of artificial intelligence in the physical distribution of medicines would help us to reach the medicines to the needy people without delay. This paper seeks to identify the role of artificial intelligence in the physical distribution of medicines. And the aim of the research is to create the awareness about the role of artificial intelligence in the physical distribution of medicines in corona pandemic period. Then regarding my literature review, I reviewed this literatures. And regarding my research methodology, the secondary data has been used for the study. The source of secondary data used in the study are the research papers and newspapers related to supply chain management, artificial intelligence, and the pandemic situation. And my suggestions about the role of artificial intelligence in physical distribution of medicines during the pandemic period is the usage of artificial intelligence in medicines distribution increases the efficiency. Thus, the pharmaceutical industry can increase the usage of computer systems, mobile apps, online ordering medicines, etc. And the time and it increases the efficiency also. More AI technologies can be developed to help the physical distribution of medicines to the customers. Thus, the artificial intelligence is playing an important role in the physical distribution of medicines, and various innovative methods and techniques are introduced in the medical field based on artificial intelligence. So much developments taken place in the pharmaceutical industry, supply chain management with the usage of artificial intelligence. Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Professor. I would like to ask Professor Asif to respond to our presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rosado. Thank you very much Abhinaya Raju for the presentation on AI, the role of AI on the managing of physical distribution of medicines. Okay, just
Thank you, sir.
two clarifications I just want to have from you. First of all, was this study conducted only on Indian perspective, or it is a secondary research on global perspective?
I conducted this study only on behalf of the Indian perspective.
Okay, fine. Can you tell me what is the main findings of your study?
The main findings from my study is the artificial intelligence technology is playing a major role in the physical distribution of medicines, especially during this corona pandemic period. So in this pandemic period, we are unable to reach the medical shop or any other pharmaceutical shops to get medicines on time, especially the patients suffering from chronic diseases such as kidney failure and blood pressure and other chronic diseases. They are unable to get their routine medicines during this pandemic period due to the lack of transportation facilities. So they are unable to reach the medical shops to get the medicines. In this situation, we can approach the medical shops and the medicine providers through the computer systems and mobile apps. Thereby we can order medicines from them, and we can get the medicines to our home through their physical delivery of medicines. These are my findings.
Okay, can this be applicable to all the pharmacies that is selling the medicines over there in India? And what do you think regarding the supply chain? Will it speeden up the supply chain process, or it is going to be delaying in getting the product, since it is a life-saving product, medicine? So someone going to the pharmacy and getting it, someone ordering it online and getting it delivered. So do you think there is a time gap difference between the conventional method and this AI method?
Yes, this AI method of with the help of AI while delivering medicines to the patients, we can manage the time very efficiently. We can reduce the time limit or a time gap between ordering the medicines and getting medicines to our home.
Okay, fine. Thank you. That will be all from me, Dr. Osaro.
Okay, thank you, Prof. I would want to ask Prof. Bipin to weigh in at the moment.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Osaro, and congratulations to Professor Abhinaya Raju.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, the topic is very insightful. Now, I just want to ask you, what are the constraints on this artificial intelligence in delivering the physical medicine to the patients who have ordered online? Because you see, when it comes to artificial, it is ordering through online. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
So, do you see any constraints and difficulties in using this AI mode, AI approach? Because I find that there are patients who may not have a computer, who may not be literate in using this. So how are they going to order medicine online when you find there is a the lockdown, where they cannot physically visit the pharmacy shops to buy their medicine? So I find that artificial intelligence is very good in planning and letting know who needs what medicine. But physical distribution, physically getting the medicine into the hands of the patients who need it, unless that patient has the laptop and he is literate in using this, if not, it will find it difficult to get the medicine. Am I right or not? Abhinaya, Prof. Abhinaya. Or if you want to,
yes, sir.
If you want
yes,
to,
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, then that's all from me. Thank you, Dr. Osaro.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Bipin. Thank you very much, Abhinaya Raju, for that beautiful presentation on AI use in managing physical distribution of medicines in the pharmaceutical industry. Okay, so we also have another presentation this time around from the operations and materials management track. You may stop sharing your screen now, Abhinaya Raju. Okay, you may stop sharing your screen now. Okay, we've got our next presentation, which is titled Intelligence Powering Supply Chain. And this will be delivered by Dr. Nagarenita, an assistant professor based in India. As I said earlier on, if you've got any questions from the audience for any of the paper presenters, you may leave it in the chat box and the respective presenters will respond to it in the chat box. Thank you very much for that. So our next presenter, you may share your screen right away and start your presentation. Please note that you have just 10 minutes for the presentation. Okay, so are you here, Dr. Nagarenita? I can see here, but I don't know if the presenter is here. Okay, while waiting for the presenter, I would want to add that after this presentation, the next will be from Dr. Felix and Ms. Sashikala in the supply chain risk management track, and they will be making their presentation on supply chain risk management in the retail industry, and this is going to be a systematic review. After that, we will have in the same supply chain risk management track a presentation from Mohammed Hatem Al-Balushi from Oman. He will be making this presentation titled Operations, Logistics and Supply Chain During and Post-COVID-19. Challenges and the lessons way forward.
Sir,
so,
sir?
Okay, so now we will listen to Dr. Nagarenita on her paper presentation titled Intelligence Powering Supply Chain. Okay, over to you. You may share your screen now.
Yes, sir. I have shared the screen, sir. Is it visible? Am I audible, sir?
You are very audible, actually, and you may share your screen.
Yes, sir. I have also shared the screen. Is it visible now?
No, it's not visible.
Okay. Is it visible now, sir?
Yes, it's coming up. Yes, it's visible now. It is visible now.
Yes, sir. As everybody, I'm also saying good morning and good afternoon, one and all, those who are virtually present here. I'm Dr. Nagarenita, Assistant Professor, Department of Management Studies, Fatima College, Madurai, Tamil Nadu, India. Okay, my title is Intelligence Powering Supply Chain. Okay, as an introduction, I want to say that so this logistics, when it is supported by artificial intelligence and machine language, it has been a great support during this pandemic and in the upcoming future also. Increasing competition has recognized the need for technology in supply chain management, because we know that during the pandemic, suppliers, that is the customers, were into the house and every people need all the necessities, where the supply chain management is the need of the hour. They have to distribute right from the medicines and all the necessities to the doors of the customers. So that was the presentation, or that was the situation during the pandemic. So this artificial intelligence, it has helped in reducing the uncertainties and reducing the complexities in the supply chain management, and it speeded up the process. So for this purpose, artificial intelligence and machine language or machine learning is of great support. So that is about this presentation. So next is background of the research. So background is considered as during the pandemic, the supply chain industry or the logistic industry faced a tough situation because they need to distribute on time and many suffered. Even for an example, in India, we have suffered for medicines during the second wave of this particular time. So the help or the industry has to help the consumers in a large way. In that case, it has been taken, this study has been taken. The next is aim of the research is to find a comfortable and common solution in case of supply chain industry, where even the small suppliers has to make use of the technology, upcoming technology, which helps them to do the business in a successful way. The next is the research objectives are to study the present environment of supply chain industry and to understand the necessity of technology in speeding up the process and provide the supply in an accurate manner, and to analyze the role of intelligence and machine language in the logistics and supply chain industry. So that is the objectives of my study. Then the research questions based on the studies, measures that are available to solve such issues, latest technology that are available, and the role of artificial intelligence. Research methodology that has been adapted is, it is descriptive research design, where it explores about the supply chain industry, and I have used only the secondary data for this purpose. In summary of the study, our findings are optimizing warehouse management and supply chain 4.0 that can be used, and with the help of supply chain, the following features are available, that is resilience, agility, flexibility, accuracy in the industry, efficiency can be improved, quality of service is improvised, and demand forecasting using artificial intelligence and machine language, then logistic planning and routing through artificial intelligence, warehouse modernization with computer vision, and supply chain risk management, which is powered by artificial intelligence. So based on these things, findings have been given. Conclusion is that innovating internal capabilities, we have to make use of third-party expertise, that is the software organizations, which may be of more useful, so that even a small company can make use of this particular technology in order to supply their customers on a proper time. It is a good relationship can be maintained on the part of suppliers and the manufacturers with the help of this kind of artificial intelligence and machine language. So this is what my conclusion is, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nagarinita, for that very clear and precise presentation on intelligence powering supply chain. Okay, I will go over to the panelists now and kindly ask Professor Bipin to ask one or two questions or make comments on your presentation.
Yeah. Congrats to Dr. Nagarinita.
Thank you, sir.
A straightforward presentation, good. But can you please enlighten me on one issue, that is, how this artificial intelligence is able to help in reducing uncertainties, because we are now in a VUCA situation where you find that, can you please enlighten me how artificial intelligence can overcome uncertainties? That's all.
So the first thing is, during the pandemic, the supply was reduced. And after coming out of this pandemic lockdowns and all, every organization, they want to improve and use their fullest capacity, right? We have to forecast the demand. This forecasting of and planning can be done with the help of this artificial intelligence. Like we have supply chain 4.0, which is helping us in finding out the make the planning more effective, and the argument in production and performance, and it is more helpful in this way. So this supply chain 4.0 brings a huge benefits in terms of growth patterns, and it is also assured innovation and entrepreneurial opportunities. It helps in that is predictive management. That is how it helps in reducing the uncertainties, in managing the risk. Am I answering correct, sir?
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Doctor. Back
Yes.
to you, Dr. Osaro.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Yeah, I would love Professor Asif to make a comment on the presentation also.
Thank you very much. Okay, congratulations, Doctor, for the presentation. And just like to make one or two clarifications.
Yes,
Since,
sir.
of course, it is a demand forecasting by using the machine language. At
Yes,
the same
sir.
time, it's acting like a predictive model to predict your future demand and forecast. So,
Yes,
towards your conclusion, you were mentioning that it would be better if all the retailers or service providers can adapt this particular mechanism, right?
Yes.
So, just want to find out, your study only focused on medical supplies, right?
Yes, the supply chain, logistics as a whole. I did not specify any industry. It is logistics and supply chain as a whole, how that can be made more predictive and more useful.
Fine. Did you look into the costing part of adopting this particular technology? I mean, how costlier would it become for a small, medium enterprise, for example, if they want to use such mechanism?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I would like to suggest that there can be like apps that can be more useful, innovative, small apps that can be used with the mobile phone. That will be more useful for even the small and medium scale enterprises. So it should be inclusive growth. Wherever artificial intelligence or anything is coming, it should be inclusive of all the small scale and the medium scale enterprises. That is what I want to say with this.
Okay, fine. Last question for you. Do you
Yes,
think there is a limitation to your study?
There is a limitation.
Is there any limitation for your study?
Sir, if I have collected the primary data, that may be of more use.
True. If you could have collected the primary data. Okay. So that may be a way forward for you to look into some collecting of primary data, maybe using Google Form and other those things online. And through the secondary part and those primary, I think the study would definitely have a very new and very good dimension. Yeah.
Sure, sir. I'll try for the next thing.
Yes. Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, distinguished panelist and presenter. That was a great session. Like I said earlier on, members of the audience, if you've got any question or any comment to make regarding the presentation or the content, I would kindly request that you leave it in the chat box and it will be responded to by the respective presenters. So we're moving over to the next presentation, and this time around it will be coming from the supply chain risk management track, and it's going to be delivered by Dr. Felix and Miss Shashikala, and the title is Supply Chain Risk Management in the Retail Industry, a Systematic Review. After this presentation, we will be having the next presentation from Mohammed Hatem Al-Balushi, so it will be great for you to get prepared after this presentation to make yours. So over to you, Dr. Felix, for your presentation. Thank you.
Good morning, dignitaries, and good afternoon, dignitaries and participants from across the globe. I'm Dr. Surekha Felix, Assistant Professor, Department of Business Administration, Holy Cross College, Tiruchirappalli, Tamil Nadu, India. And the co-author of this article is Ms. Sashikala, Assistant Professor, Department of Business Administration, Holy Cross College, Tiruchirappalli, Tamil Nadu, India. I would like to present a paper on the title, Supply Chain Risk Management in the Retail Industry, a Systematic Review. Today's global market, characterized by enormously fast modification in technology and customers' demand, and by product lifecycle getting shorter and shorter, a single firm has not the ability to be competitive if it is not included in a network that, operating as a single entity, is able to react to demand, energy, and predictability. Therefore, existing supply chains designed in a global sourcing view are highly vulnerable to worries resulting from a strong dependence on the other network players such as suppliers or logistic providers. In this difficult and competitive context, properly measuring and managing risk connected to the different stages of the value chain, as well as external and not directly controllable risk, means being able to ensure connection in supply. The field of supply chain risk management has originated from the discipline of enterprise risk management, the process for managing the risk that threaten organization. Supply chain risk management can be defined as the management of supply chain risk through coordination or collaboration among the supply chain partners so as to ensure profitability and continuity. It's according to Tang 2006. And the objective of this study is, the main objective of this study is to identify the risk involved in the retail industry supply chains from reviews and provide strategies to cope up with the risk. Coming to the importance of study, in today's increasingly risky and uncertain business and industrial environments, supply chain needs to be more flexible and more robust to improve their performance. During the last decade, supply chain risk management has emerged as a challenge on the strategic and operational supply issue. A deeply analysis has revealed that modern retail industry needs certain strategic decisions to manage supply chain risk. These strategic tools should cope up with emerging practices and integrate many categories of risk. And the methodology of the study, the study is based on the secondary data. Based on the reviews, the supply chain risk and the supply chain risk management strategies are presented and discussed. Result and findings produced by various authors are presented here. Hence, we have not handled any primary data, only the secondary data is presented here. So these are the types of supply chain risk. These are the types of supply chain risk: environmental risk, supply risk, demand risk, and process risk. While seeing each and everything in detail, environmental risk, to name it, the risk like crisis and natural disaster, terrorist attack, labor-related cost, currency, security, social environment, political environment, legal environment, strikes, and economic disruptions. So these are the environmental, that is external risk, which the retail organization gets. And secondly, the supply risk, where they face failure of supplier, inbound product quality, supplier opportunism, transit time variability, and rise in prices, lead time variability, yield variability, failure of logistic services provider, and reliability of exchange information. And third type of risk is demand risk, demand variability, forecast errors, competitor moves, customer dissatisfaction, changing consumer taste, failure of logistic service providers, and product quality. And the fourth kind of risk is process risk, asset and tools ownership, inventory ownership, product quality and safety, managerial risk, loss of production, shortage of employees, and yield variability. So here the paper we have classified into two. One is risk and another one is the supply chain risk management strategies. And this strategy will be explained by Ms. Sashikala. Over to you, Sashikala.
Dignitaries and good morning, dignitaries. I'm Sashikala. I'm going to start the topic with supply chain risk management. Supply chain risk management is divided among the four risk description, management, detection. Risk definition: the managed supply chain risk through coordination or collaboration among the supply chain so as to ensure product and the information, the materials and flows supply of the funds. Description risk supply to be more comprehensive are
Dr. Felix, if you can hear me, we can't hear the presentation anymore. You may want to check if there's an issue.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I will check. I think there is a problem in the connectivity. Let me see.
All right. Okay.
So these are the supply chain risk management. So these are classified as a risk definition, risk disruption, risk management, risk reduction, and mitigation. So coming to the risk definition, the management of supply chain risk through coordination or collaboration among the supply chain partners so as to ensure profitability and continuity, and any risk for the information, materials, and product flows from original suppliers to the delivery of the final product for the end user. And coming to the risk disruption, disruption is any supply chains are evolving to be more comprehensive and recurrent in the business environment. Disruption events are described as when the tornado hits, the bomb explodes, a supplier goes out of the business, or union begins a wildcat strike. Some other parameters to classify risk is in SEM are based on the source of risk and mitigation strategies as organizational risk, environmental risk, and network risk, and demand and supply risk, industry and organizational risk, and network risk. Coming to the risk management refers to the strategy, methods, and supporting tools to identify and control risk to an acceptable level. Additional risk management can also be referred to an synchronized set of action and approaches to direct an organization to minimize the risk for achieving the organizational goals. Coming to the risk detection and mitigation strategy, risk detection plays a pivotal role before disruption occurs. Major disruption are challenging to manage but can be estimated through conscious risk assessment strategies, identifying risk indicators and applying the principles of total quality management and sharing information among SCM partners. Corporations should have contingency plans in the case of the occurrence of the disruptive event. Strategies to control risk may be divided into 7 categories: prevention, rescheduling, conjecture, numerical and economic, vertical integration, risk sharing, and technology and security. And coming to the strategies, and by another author, strategy for supply chain risk management. I think Sashikala wants to continue. Shall I give the opportunity, sir?
Absolutely, absolutely. She can come in now. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Sorry, sir. Network problem. So I continue with the strategies for supply chain risk management. Okay, the review, we have 2 types, that is proactive management strategies and reactive management strategy. The review of literatures are revealed these 2 things. Proactive management strategy that seeks to identify the risk events that to prevent damage before occurring through the analysis of critical scenarios and the decreasing of the livelihood of occurrences of any undesirable risk and the implementation of preventive measures and or broad chain. Reactive management strategy that attempts to limit the impact and consequences of undesirable risk event through corrective actions. This require reactive and a very good understanding of all available alternatives and their impact on the supply chain performance. Supply chain risk management strategies have been divided into 10 topics like leverage the PPRR, that is prevention, preparedness, response and recovery risk management models, manage environmental risk in your supply chain, improve cyber supply chain risk management, improve supply chain visibility, track the right freight carrier metrics, implement a logistic consistency plan, conduct internal risk awareness training, constantly monitors the risk, use data to model the risk, key risk event scenarios, consolidate data for easy access. So these are the 10 strategies which is followed in strategic decision management. Okay. Conclusion, supply chain forms the backbone of a global economic and promote trade, consumption, and economic growth. The changing spaces of globalization, a lean manufacturing processes, and outsourcing to low-income countries have made supply chain network more effective and changed their supply chain risk profile. Due to globalization and inter-supply chain competition as interference, companies tries to deliver the best value to customers with a greater efficiency at the lowest cost. Communications with the vendors and suppliers will play a vital role in many organizations. The identified strategies might help in further development the field of supply chain risk management, incorporating and effective risk management in retail industries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Felix and Ms. Sashikala, for that beautiful presentation, which was titled Supply Chain Risk Management in the Retail Industry, a Systematic Review. That was insightful, and I'm pretty sure that our panelist has some comment and questions to ask you. You cannot escape from that. Okay, I would like Professor Asif to start first with his response to Dr. Felix's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Osaro, and congratulations to Dr. Felix and Ms. Shashikala for the very timely oriented presentation on your supply chain risk management. Okay, just two clarifications from my side to add to your paper. You have talked about the external risk. You have talked about the supply risk, the demand risk, and the process risk, right? So how do you align all these four risks with digital security risk?
Yes.
So, I mean, how do you align all these external risks that you have mentioned, okay, with the digital security risks that every organization tend to face? Because earlier today in the morning, we have seen the presentation of our keynote speaker talking about the cybersecurity attacks and other parts. So that's part of the digital security. So how does supply chain risk management is aligned with digital security?
I think each organization can develop their own software so that the software may give them or provide them a early warning signal so that they can proactively try to proactively plan and to manage the risk which they encountered from the external risk. So the strong digital security of the company may provide all these identification of risk whichever is available in the external environment so that the management can cope up with all the risk which they are encountering from the external environment. Yeah, that's the answer from me.
Since you are talking about retail industry, are you focusing on fast moving consumer goods or any retail?
Any kind of retail. It can be like any kind. It just can be used for FMCG, or it can be for apparels industry. Anything. It's generally we have given an overview of a retail industry.
Fine. Just last one from me. Do you think the same supply risk management would be different for a wholesale industry?
For which industry, sir?
A wholesale rather than a retail. Okay. Rather than a retail, if it is, for example, like for example, at the moment, we are doing all online activities, right? So if it is like business to consumer directly, okay, so or it may be a stockist who is in between. So if we are talking about a wholesale industry rather than a retail industry, are the same risk will be applicable to them, or they may have a different sort of risk?
To some extent, yes, sir. To some extent, it is applicable, sir, because the external risk, what we have seen as natural disasters or the financial things, those things, sir, these are common for every industry. So to some extent, it is applicable for the wholesale industry as well.
Okay, fine. Maybe in the scope of the study, you can highlight, since it's a secondary based research, so whether it was conducted on the Asian subcontinent basis or on a European basis, because the external environment of these countries also plays a greater role for the security infrastructure and other infrastructure availability. So maybe that can be a scope of the work, so that a further work can be also relooked into. Yeah.
Yes, sure, sure, sir, sure.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rosaro. Thank you very much, dear presenters.
Okay, thanks a lot, Prof, for that very insightful advice coming from you, and I hope the presenters will look into it and perhaps improve the study based on this advice. Thanks a lot, presenter, also. But we will also want to hear from Professor Bipin concerning his response to your presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Rosaro. Congrats to Dr. Felix and Ms. Sashikala.
Thank you, sir.
The title is very interesting. In fact, it's about the risk management in retail industry. In fact, I wanted to ask you on the external factors such as supply and environmental, but my dear Dr. Asif has already highlighted that. So I will move to another question. That is, when you talk about the retail industry, are the same, do you use the same approach for the goods and services industry, or do you have a different approach? Because retail will include goods and service industries. So what is your view on this?
Sir, we can't deny that these risk factors or these strategies cannot be used for the service sectors, because when we speak about the end user, the customers are the same one. And secondly, so here they need to consider, as I have answered for Professor Asif, here for the, either it can be wholesale, retail or service, whatever it is. So we need to consider certain risk factors which we have seen in the retail. Like as I said, certain things are influencing for the service industry. When we speak about demand risk, I told that consumer taste will be a risk for the retail industry. So that could be the influencing factor for the service industry as well. So it is not that all the risk will be involved, but few of the things what I have mentioned in the retail can be applicable to the service industry as well, I think.
Yeah, not all, but certain, because goods industry will face the risk of inventory, whereas service industry will have very little inventory. They're more on the service, correct? Okay.
Yes.
So you have talked very general, but we can also have probe into the service industry as well. Okay, thank you very much. And congrats one more time. Back to you, Dr. Rosaro.
Okay, thanks a lot, Prof, for that. It's a very knowledgeable response. If we have any comments from the member of the audience. You could leave it in the chat box. I will read it out for responses from the presenters. If there is none, we will move ahead to our next presentation. And this is coming from Hatem Al-Balushi in Oman. He will be making a presentation in the same track, which is the supply chain risk management track. And the title of his paper is Operations, Logistics, and Supply Chain During and Post-COVID-19. He will be preferring solutions going forward and looking at the case study of the Sultanate of Oman. Okay, dear presenter, over to you. Hatem Al-Balushi, you may want to unmute your mic. You're not audible.
Hello? Now is okay?
Yes, can hear you now, Al-Balushi.
Yes, hello. Yes, hello everybody.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes. Now sharing the screen is okay. Okay. Hello everybody. I extend thanks and appreciate to the University of Binary for giving me the chance to participate in this international conference. This is Muhammad Hatem Jan from Oman, presenting paper about operation, logistics, and supply chain during and post COVID-19, challenges, lessons, and way forward. Business operations and global supply chain have often been disrupted by pandemics, disasters, and epidemics. However, none of the disasters in the past can match the damage that has been caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. COVID-19 is an unprecedented event that has affected almost every industry globally. It has put different industries under awful pressure, leading to loss of jobs and business opportunities, in addition to sickness and loss of life that has been in the past 2 years. This in turn led to extensive lockdowns and sweeping regulations, all meant to reduce the transmission and spread of virus among communities. In Oman, things are not so different from what the rest of the world is experiencing. As it forced the supply chain to cope with countless troubles that were never predicted before and brought many human activities to a halt. After some time, the suspensions of operations become a global problem as the virus spread everywhere. Millions of people were affected and infected in over 216 countries worldwide, and by the June 2020, nearly half of a million people had died. In Oman, the responses to the pandemic by the public and business has led to various issues that experts can lead to adverse effects on the economy. Supply chain, air, sea, and transport are facing massive disruptions and problems in adjusting to the rising demands in an environment that have been locked down and freedom limited. In 2020 report published by Accenture that 94% of the Fortune 1000 companies have encountered disruptions due to the pandemic. On the other hand, 75% of the companies have had negative or strongly negative impact on their businesses, while 55% are planning to downgrade their growth outlook. According to the International Civil Aviation Organization, supply chain activities have substantially reduced due to the COVID-19. This has affected the GDP due to the disruption of economic activities. Operations have been disrupted because of the lack of preparedness and inability to identify the follows in the supply chain before they occur. Therefore, early detection in this future and precious lessons learned from this pandemic will play a critical role in keeping business operations even when there are large-scale outbreak or disasters. Measures will allow industry leaders to take quick actions and enforce remedial measures to lower the severity of the effects. Here in the literature review, shown that all the studies that done on the topic of supply chain during COVID-19 proved that COVID-19 pandemic disrupted the supply chain around the world. The aim of the study, this paper aims to identify the challenge that the COVID pandemic has presented to the supply chain, logistics, and operations. Second, the paper also intends to identify lessons that the pandemic teaches the players in the industry and proposes a way forward now and after the pandemic. This paper aims to explore the challenges that the pandemic has had on the supply chain operations and logistics sectors, to find out lessons that organizations and agencies can learn from COVID-19 outbreak and how they can use those lessons to respond better in the future. To develop a framework for managing supply chain operations, preparedness, resilience, and readiness strategies. The method that has been selected to carry out this research is systemic literature review. The process involved reviewing literature and comprehensively assessing peer-reviewed journals, research studies, and articles, books, newspapers that published recently. The findings show here that coronavirus pandemic has adversely affected the majority of supply and demand. The transport and logistics firms that help business, including rail, road, sea, and air, have been affected, so substantially impacted all forms of transport. The pandemic forced companies to look for alternative for their business. They learned the danger of relying on one source. Companies also compelled to manufacture specific products in the region closer to home. The flexibility of supply chain, it helps company adjust faster during stressful time and to adapt to the shake waves of the pandemic. The recommendations, the study recommend to enforce digitization with technologies such as the Internet of Things and artificial intelligence. The movement of item can be tracked from one location to another. The importance of localization and diversification of supply chain are also recommended to address the delay of supply when there is disruption. Finally, the events of the past 2 years have shown that pandemic and other disasters can indeed wreak havoc to a supply chain around the world. In the context of Oman, the results indicate that the pandemic had presented numerous challenges that included distribution of transport operations due to social distancing and lockdowns, shortage of goods, labor shortage, and supply and demand shocks. Okay, thank you. This is all the presentation has been done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Balushi, for your presentation on operations, logistics, supply chain during and post-COVID-19, and looking at the case study from the Sultanate of Oman. Okay, I would kindly ask that Professor Bipin comment on this presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Saro. Congrats to the effects of how it affected negatively the economic sector. But the title says lessons and way forward. So one, you have highlighted the flaws that are found inside your presentation, but you have not highlighted what are the flaws. Number two, you have said lessons, but what are the lessons that we have learned from this COVID-19 pandemic? And number three, when you say that one of the suggestions that you highlighted is localization, do you think that logistic industry will work if they totally depend on local support only? So these are my questions which I hope you can highlight me. And number one is the flaws. Number two, what are the lessons that we learned? And number three, can we survive if we depend only on local logistics? Thank you, Muhammad Atim.
Yes,
thank you.
Okay. Yes, thank you for the questions. The local logistics should might be one of the alternative for the future when you face high disruptions for the logistics. And about the lessons that I mentioned, we need to find out alternative for the businesses and manufacturing products like closer, if not locally, but closer to our place, our regions. We must find alternative for the business or for the products or for the goods. In that time when happened that pandemics. Also, the flexibility of supply chain I mentioned here as to companies just fast to get faster during stressful times. Okay.
Okay, Prof. Bipin?
Okay. Because okay, thanks, Dr. Osaro.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, not yet done, Atam Al-Balushi. Okay. I will still ask Professor Asif to win. You cannot run away yet, okay?
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, Mahmoud Hafim Jan.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Asif, Professor. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, Alfe Mabruk for the presentation.
Alhamdulillah, thank you. Thank you for giving the chance for this presentation.
Okay, that's very good. Yes. Okay, if I just for a bit of clarification and way forward, as I see your title is Operations, Logistics and Supply Chain during and post COVID-19. Okay.
Yeah.
So it is a too broad a topic. It would be suggested you can narrow down the topic to any sector. Is it oil and gas sector, for example, or is it retail sector, or is it consumer sector? So because every sector has its own challenges, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think I talked like in general.
Yes.
Yes, in general, but that like must to be in more narrow for next or for future studies.
Sure.
We can yes.
You can narrow down to any sector. Maybe oil and gas, maybe education, maybe food industry, maybe pharmaceuticals. So because to highlight this, they will understand that this sector has these issues, that sector has that issues.
Yes.
But all cannot be in the same issues, right?
This is like a limitation, will be like a limitation for the
current paper
studies. Yes, for the
future studies.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay. If I come to your particular presentation that you have done, a case study of Sultanate of Oman, what was your main findings that you can highlight to improve on this general condition?
Okay. That I mentioned that the main findings that we found that coronavirus, I think, adversely affected that majority of supply and demand on all that logistics sectors.
Okay.
This is what one of the findings. The shock of supply and demand, like affected all supply and demand. That especially in 2020, was everything stopped.
Fine. Do you have any?
And also the transport and transport and logistic sectors like rail, road, sea, all also was stopped as a finding.
Fine. Yes. Now, is there a possibility for you to have the idea at the moment, how big is the amount we are talking about in terms of losses that the country had?
that
yes,
the
please.
amount of damage,
amount of loss
yes,
during this pandemic had due to these challenges of supply chain shortage or disruptions.
Yes, a lot of more business that in 2020 was affected and stopped. Many people lose jobs here in Oman, and now they're facing also bank liabilities problem. A lot of problems that as a result of this pandemic happened. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for that good presentation. All right. Okay, over to you, Dr. Osaro. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, panelists, thank you for that. Mohammed Al-Balushi for that presentation too. Yeah, you're welcome. So from Oman, we'll go back to dear India again. And this time around, we will be having a presentation from the Artificial Intelligence, Logistics, Analytics, and Automation track. And the title of the presentation is The Future Implementation of Automation and AI in Smart Logistics. And this beautiful title will be presented by Priya Dashini. Al-Balushi, could you, okay then, you've done that. Okay, so Priya Dashini, can you make your presentation now?
Yeah, sir, just give me 1 second.
Sure.
Is my screen visible, sir?
No, it's not yet visible.
1 second. Now it is visible, sir?
Yes, it is visible now.
Yeah, my greatest greetings to one and all present here. So before going into the presentation, I'd like to thank every one of them who gave me this wonderful opportunity. So today I'm going to present on the topic based on the future implementation of automation and AI in smart logistics based on my knowledge. So moving on to the presentation. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are already transforming the logistics industries, expanding the difference between the winners and losers. They both provide enterprise-wide visibility into all elements of the business by eliminating the deep-rooted bottlenecks and uncertainty with such accuracy and methodology that people just cannot repeat it at scale. And this smart logistics has picked up a stream and is now seen as one of the industry's unavoidable trends in the future growth of logistics. And this paper concentrates on the automated storage, delivery, and the retrieval of using the IoT and AI to have access to make things easier and make human lives better. So the background of my research is that there are some main research that have been undertaken by the management scholars, which they are into two major study lines with the purpose of producing smart logistics under the facilitations like monitoring, control, optimization, and automation. And this research area focus on how AI, IoT, and ICT, which is information and communication technology, can be implied to improve the intelligence of the functions listed above. And the second is about finding strategies to increase the optimization with enormous data is another study, which will be the stress factor of SL, which is smart logistics, in order to accomplish integration and self-organization of logistics process. And moving on to the research objective, The primary objective of my study is to have the study on the future implementation of automation and AI in smart logistics, and to understand um, the future implementation of the optimization problem in future logistics. The main aim of my study is that the most critical application of intelligent technology is the achievement of intelligent monitoring and control, which would be the foundation of logistics optimization and automation. When the intelligence of monitoring and control becomes attainable, the next big worry is setting the data to work in an integrated system to execute logistical optimization and automation. Another focus of smart logistics is that artificial framework design of the CPS, which is cyber physical system, which transforms visible real world logistics difficulties into the digital virtual system. And CPS is an IoT based smart logistics system that focuses on various logistics operation process based on application scenarios like production, warehousing, cross docking, transportation routing, dispatching, captured by IoT, for example sensors and RFID. And the next is about the optimization problem in smart logistics. Um, Smart logistics provides more data points with all the unnecessary data, but once the data is gathered and analyzed, it can lead to logistics optimization with all the overflowing of data and data leak. And some of my findings of this study is we could find out that increased smart logistics efficiency is accomplished by the difficulty with system security, which can be divided into hardware and information security issues. In terms of hardware, security is considered in the system design for IoT devices, hacking, and system gateways, whereas information security primarily refers to the security of data storage, transmission, and access. And moving on to the contribution, some of the emerging technologies that could change the world of logistics, like IoT, Internet of Things, AI, and 3D printing, drone delivery, which was already implemented by Amazon Prime Air, and driverless vehicles. For example, e-commerce giant Amazon's acquisition on Zoox, and it is an American autonomous vehicle company. It is a startup company headquartered in California for more than $1.2 billion they have acquired. And this is it also integrated Zook's offerings into its logistics. It may integrate and network to offer cheaper and faster delivery, as well as its cashierless grocery stores. And the next is my recommendations. And also, I'd like to add to the contributions, like yet another example of Walmart using their retail AI Fresh system, which uses self-scanning robots and RFID technology to collect real-time data on merchandise in all Chinese Walmart stores. And this unsupervised system is capable of identifying a wide range of products, even within the supermarket bags. And it could carry out functions like restocking, sorting, and inventory monitoring, which is becoming increasingly intelligent and autonomous with all this smart system. And recommendations. So all the IoT devices provide decision makers with vast amount of data in a variety of formats, which leads to SL optimization. And all this inappropriate data exhibition can lead to the misdirection of the key information by unrelated data. So the last and most significant step in enhancing the decision accuracy and operation efficiency. So I would recommend to portray logistical data in an acceptable and user-friendly manner. So only sufficient entry of data can be occurred. And the next is the unexplored effect mechanisms of relevant technologies on present logistics is to blame for the lack of a general smart logistics management framework. So the framework has to be structured, and would be nice if it be more effective. And the conclusion of this study is that there are research that can be carried out under SL with the help of intelligent technologies like IoT, Internet of Things, cyber physical systems, CPS, artificial intelligence, and moreover as transportation when avoiding the optimization of SL. And researchers can use the information system theories to investigate on how internal logistics information sharing influences logistic performance. And furthermore, researchers may attach great importance to how the specific characteristics of smart logistics is and its use affect the profit and expectations of its executors. Thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you, Priya, for that beautiful presentation. It was precise, it was clear, and it was very engaging. Thank you for that. I would want to present this opportunity for the panel to, to ask some questions. Prof. Bipin, can you go first?
Yeah, thank you. Dr. Priya Darshini, congratulations. The presentation was very clear, precise, and right to the point. I'm very happy to hear your presentation. Now, one thing that if I look at the title says the future implementation. And if you recall, Dr. Taiwo in his special address did mention the difficulties faced by the use of technology because of the hacking, and one of the example is the ransomware and all that. Now, but in future, I don't think we should be facing such difficulties, such problems. So what is your recommendation that if you talk about the future, how will you overcome these problems using automation and AI? Dr. Priya?
Yeah, sir. I would recommend that already they are going ahead of investing in artificial intelligence when it comes to logistics, and it will be more precise if they continue the same, like Amazon and everyone involving the drones and everything. So I'd like to say that, sir.
Dr. Priya, will that help to reduce the cybercrime?
I
Priya.
don't have any clear idea about that. Yeah, sir.
It will? Because
Yeah,
you are
sir.
telling there'll be an enhancement in the use of technology. So definitely the enhancement of technology will help to reduce the cyber crime, especially in the hacking and what you call hacking and stealing of the data and disrupting the flow of the market, isn't it? Am I right? Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Back to you, Dr. Usaro.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Bipin. And still cannot escape until Prof. Asif says so. Okay, so I'll go over to Prof. Asif to ask Priya some questions. And before he does that, since this is also an impactful session, an interesting topic, I'm pretty sure we have some questions coming from the members of the audience. If you do have such questions, you can leave it in the chat box and the presenter will attend to it. Thank you. Over to you, Prof. Asif.
Thank you very much, Dr. Osaro. Dr. Priyadarshini, it's a good presentation. It's a good presentation, but I need some clarifications on the topic. As to say, since we are talking about the future implementation, right? So these are not yet implemented. We are just having our, predictive ideas that this can be possible through automation and AI, right?
Yeah.
So do you think there will be a difference in the application for B2B and B2C, or will they be still the same in terms of applications?
The delivery would be fast, and consumers will be interacted more towards that kind of technologies. So it would be a great change if they implemented those in the real life system. Yes.
Fine. Okay, what about, because whenever we talk about this sort of automations and smart logistics, the organization, as I understand, need to have implemented the ERP system, right? So if organization wants to implement ERP system and then take the benefit of smart logistics, then are we limiting this facility to only larger corporates, or even the SMEs can be a part of this great innovation?
I would say it depends on the enterprise who are planning for the future implementation. And right now, it's about all the big enterprises coming forward to the automation and artificial intelligence. So it depends.
Okay, depends. Right. This final clarification, one more. Infrastructure of IT and IT related activities. That is going to play an important role in making sure that these future implementations gets the benefit of all. So do you think certain countries will have more access to these infrastructure facilities as an added advantage, competitive advantage, or will all the countries equally can benefit through this through outsourcing?
Maybe excluding the rural areas, we could say that all the developed countries would go forward to it.
Okay. All right, fine. Thank you very much to Priyadarshini for those clarifications and answers. It's a very interesting topic, and we look forward for some more constructive information coming up from this. Thank you very much. Over to you, Dr. Rosaro.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Priya, are you still there?
Yeah.
Hello, Priya. Okay, Priya, you have a question from a member of the audience, and I'd like to read it for you to respond. Okay, so the question is from Shini to everyone. With supply chain management systems improving operational efficiency, how will this be an advantage for market demands in rural SME in India on perishable products? Any solutions how data-driven solution can enhance logistics, just-in-time delivery? So basically, this person wants to know the implication of your suggestion on perishable products. Okay, that is products that cannot stay so long outside of some strict preservation and storage. So how would you respond to this question, Priya?
Sorry, sir. I don't think I have any idea on that basis.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
okay.
sorry.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, that's good, because I know you're directly an expert in AI and the IT aspect. So Shini, I'm pretty sure we'll get some response to your query. I would like to ask members of the audience who are specialists in supply chain risk management. We've got some papers that came from the supply chain risk management track. So if you've got a response to Shini, I would encourage you to leave it in the chat box, and we'll greatly appreciate that. And we start without wasting much time. I would like to go to our next presentation, which incidentally will be our final presentation for today, if I'm not mistaken. It is titled Minds to You, and the presentation will be made by Ranganayagi. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that right, but you know yourself. I would like you to make your presentation now.
Okay.
Okay, while the presenter is getting ready to make that presentation, I'd like to ask Messi Chinyuko from Chinua University of Zimbabwe, Elizabeth Saidi from Chinua University of Zimbabwe, and Abdullah Faiz Hassan from Maldives, and Miss Rita Paul and Miss Vashini from India to try to get in touch with me. They're on program today, but I have not received the full paper yet. There's still a chance that you might be able to present your findings in tomorrow's presentation. So all these names that I called, could you kindly get in touch with me via the conference email? Okay, so are you ready now, the next presenter?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, great, very good. So you may begin to share your screen right away.
I'm sharing right now. Is it visible?
No, it's not visible. We can hear you, but we cannot see your screen.
Oh, fine. Let me. Sir, is it visible now?
No, not yet visible. Still cannot see your screen.
Okay, fine.
Still cannot see the screen.
Okay, yes, sir, I'm fine.
Okay. Okay, just to help you, at the bottom of the Zoom interface, just by the side of the chat box, the chat icon, you'll find an icon titled Share Screen. You just click on it and share the particular screen you want to present.
Yes, sir, I'm doing that.
Okay.
Is it visible right now?
Yes, yes, your screen is visible. We can see your screen now. You may start your presentation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ranganaiki from the Department of Commerce with Computer Application, Fatima College. And thank you, Dr. Rosario, sir, for telling my presentation as a fine art presentation. I made it as a pictorial presentation mainly to get audience attraction. So by seeing the picture and listening my concepts, they can understand it very well. So that's why I made it like this. And let's take a high level look at supply chain of gold as it moves from mineral in ground to metal in consumer products like smartphone, solar panel, and ornaments, etc., or ultimately to a recycled material. This is a supply chain that is risky, not only in the time of COVID period, but also in normal days. So the chain will be from country regulation, mine, local transportation, trade center, road transport, smelter, global transport, metal trader, component manufacturer, finished goods, and recycled material. Again, from recycling to smelter, the chain repeats. Each participant know their immediate supplier, but not the supplier's supplier. So this is the lack of the visibility that allows illegal sourcing. So the first process in the supply chain is government of the country. It regulates ability to mine and mine ownership. It cooperates with international regulation and guidance or may govern independently. Country vary their permission, prohibition of artisanal mining, and individual land ownership with their mining rights. Therefore, government should involve and promote transparency and should inhibit licensed miners to perform the mining. Gold in the ground is found in hard rock deposit as a mineral. Financially mineable gold content is between 1 to 20 grams per ton of ore. Now let's move on to the panning. Gold also found while panning. Panning is nothing but a method of separating a gold from the soil and sluicing. There, water is directed onto the slope to wash away sand and the gravel and to retrieve the flakes of gold. Okay. Even though artisanal and small scale mining, that is ASM, results in low productivity, it is vital for living and subsistence activity for the local populations around. Therefore, ASM occurs approximately in 80 countries worldwide and accounts for 20% of mined gold. And I hope you all know that gold is mined everywhere in the world, but except in Antarctica. Okay. ASM digs ores and transport via barrows to the refineries to crush, wash, and filter them. The filtered sediment is processed chemically with the mercury to yield pure gold and then sold to traders. Here, the gold is easily redirected to the illegal hands. The local traders are the first one to price the gold and sometimes by the government. Assuming fair and responsible sourcing fraught with challenge when so many hands can be involved in this process. There are variety of transportation involved all over the chain. The road transport may be subjected to arbitrary taxation by the local government official or extortion by the illegal groups. Now the gold is once accumulated in quantity sufficient to ship internationally. Here, illegal gold may be mixed with responsible gold and presented as a responsibly mined gold. So here, for few airlines that still operated, gold was for low priority cargo as Any space was dedicated to personal protective equipment and medical devices in the COVID-19 period. Next is the smelter is considered the midpoint in the supply chain, also smells recycled material from various sources. The ore is semi-pure and further treatment in the refineries can bring 100% purity of the gold. The next process is purchase, marketing, and distribution of purified gold. The customer to whom the gold is delivered would be the manufacturer for the components of smartphones, solar panel, etc. As it is a good conductor, malleable, can be shaped in any product form or wire or chips or metals, anything. So it's mainly choose by the customers or the manufacturers for this property of it. There are nearly 1 million smartphones produced each year. Therefore, it has more customers for this one supply chain. Next, by recycling up to 30 to 40 smartphones contain roughly of 1 gram gold, the same quantity that we discussed in 1 ton ore, the recycled gold cannot replace the regular consumption, but can contribute to responsible supply chain. And it has been reported that the organizers of 2020 Olympics in Japan made gold, silver, and bronze medals to be purely sourced from the donated electronics that are for recycling. So it is an inspirational way to complete the gold supply chain presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that presentation. It was interesting and a little bit of a deviation from what we've been listening to, an all-important commodity, which is gold, at the same time a rare one. Okay, so thank you for spicing up the conference with your presentation. Without saying much, I would like to go to our panelists, starting from Prof. Asif, to react and give his response and ask his questions regarding your presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rosario. And indeed, minds to you, Professor Rangana Gay, for a different pictorial flowchart presentation of this conference, at least to take away the monotonous of seeing the words. So thank you very much for the presentation. Just a few clarifications from my end, if I pick it up correctly from this presentation of yours. You mentioned that around 30 to 40 smartphones are required to recycle in order to generate 1 gram of gold, right?
Yes, sir.
Fine.
Yes, sir.
Now, this 1 gram of gold, for example, and will this gold be used with the same texture and quality in retail market of gold? Like if you want to buy gold ornaments, for example, okay? Can the gold ornaments that people would love to buy, say it is 916, 21 karat or 22 karat or 24 karat of gold, whatever we buy from the normal jewelry shop, if they are made from this recycled gold, will the price of that gold be still the same of what is the pure gold price?
Sir, it has to go through the process of again to the smelter, and it should be made pure again to 100% purity of a gold, and then it will move through the cycle. So by that, when we bring 100% of purity to that gold, that we will say that as the 24 karat or 99.9% pure gold.
Yeah.
By bringing that standard to the gold, we will we'll fix the price for it, sir. Once after taking out the gold from that particular chip in a phone cannot be of the same purity as a 99.9% gold. So we have to go through the process again.
We have to go through, fine. So that means when it is sold in a retail market, so the price can be different, right?
Yes, sir.
And so will this be environmentally friendly gold? Can we say that? It's a recycled output?
Yes. Yes, sir. It is environmentally friendly gold.
Environmentally friendly gold being used. Okay. Now, my third question for clarification. Now, if I am going to buy such a gold from any outlet, how would I know as a consumer that am I buying a recycled gold or am I buying the actual gold that what we are used to seeing and buying, unless the shop owner tells us that this is a recycled one. So other than that, is there any option for me to know, or will I be having the same value that I'm buying?
So most often the traders will will pay their concise duty, and then they will get the gold.
Okay.
Most of the gold circulated in the industries like retailers is normally the recycled gold. For us, we are in a gold platform now. Our family is doing gold. We always will get the what recycled material, and we'll fix the consumer will fix the design to us, and we will make their particular design in the gold that we got from recycled material or as a doreba, and we'll do the designs for them.
Okay. Is it only mobile phone that can be recycled into 1 gram of gold, 30 to 40 phones, or can be any other electronic devices that has a chip into it?
Sir, actually, this is applicable only for smartphones, whereas in solar panel it may vary, sir. I don't have any idea about that solar panel, but I know that for the smartphones it is 1 gram of gold for 30 to 40 mobile phones. It is approximation.
Okay, thank you very much for that insightful information. Very interesting to know that to the thing that we are tending to throw away really can be converted into much value addition products. Over to you, Dr. Osaro.
Yes, in a very sustainable way, and because the buzzword right now is sustainability, green environment, then this is a good one. It's a good one. Thank you very much for that, Prof. Prof. Bipin, over to you.
Yeah, I've learned today that we should not throw away our old phones. It can be kept, and then when it accumulates to 30 to 40 phones, we can then go and get the chips of it to turn into one what you call gram of gold. Yeah, Dr. Rangana Nayagi,
Yes,
first of all, congratulations. Very beautiful presentation. But then I was so attracted to the visual that I paid very little attention to what you said. However, I need some, can you please enlighten me? First of all, you said that illegal hand. Can you please clarify what does that mean? That you say there is illegal hand in the gold mining. What does that mean?
Sir, illegal hands in the gold mining is nothing but the smugglers. In each stage of the supply chain, people will smuggle, sir.
Or they are the
Not
smuggler.
only, yes, sir. Not only in
Please
the
continue.
place where they, yes, sir. Not only in the place where they pay concise duty or tax, but also at every stage, even from the mining, people are there to just grab the gold from the conveyor and they'll run away. That is still there in the gold supply chain management.
But then you said after that, that illegal hand gold will be mixed with the legal gold. Am I right? How are they managed? How do they manage to do that?
Sir, I don't know how they managed to do that, how they mix that, but somehow they mix that because by the documentation, yes, sir, yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Illegally, they can mix anything, every time, anything, no, sir.
My third point is, what you call, you focus on the electronic items where they use gold to make chips. But gold is also used to make ornaments and jewelry, correct? And are these traders aware, as you highlighted earlier, that they are getting the recycled gold? Are the traders who sell jewelries and ornament, do they know that they're getting the recycled gold?
Yes,
Or
sir.
they-
We can know that that is a recycled gold from the immediate suppliers, sir. Like as I said before, in the chain, they will know the immediate supplier of them, but not the suppliers. But we can ask them and find out that it is a recycled gold. But most of the gold that is circulated now, that is in a study, I found that 70% of gold that is circulated all over the world is commonly a recycled gold, because by mining we get only up to 50% of gold.
So this gold is then purified again before being
Yes,
sold to the retailers. Am I right?
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then, but then when they sell to the retailers, it cannot be pure gold, because what I know is pure gold is very soft. That is why it's called 916. That means the gold
Yes,
is
sir.
only 91%, 91.6% mixed with other materials. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for highlighting, and all the best.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Rengal, thank you very much. Back to you, Dr.
Thank you,
Sarwa.
sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Bipin and panelists for that feedback and your questions. It's been great listening to you. We have come to a crescendo and the end of today's conference, today's international conference. Thank you all for attending. I want to let you know that we still have a session which is going to take place tomorrow, same time, that is 2 p.m. Malaysian Standard Time. I encourage you all to also attend, as we'll be having some more interesting presentations. I would just like to give a summary of today's events before I ask the head of the research in Binary University to give us his closing remarks. So today, we had a welcome address by the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Binary University, Professor Sulochana Nair, and she talked extensively and impactfully, like she always does, about how going forward, companies can strengthen their supply chains and logistics by imbibing sustainable and resilient practices. And she also mentioned that we need to stop this COVID-19 because it is here to stay. So we need to start to talk about how we can move forward in spite of this pandemic. And if you notice very well during the presentation, many of the papers actually centered on the way forward. After that, we also had a great talk, a keynote address by Dr. Taiwo, all the way from the US. And I must add that Dr. Taiwo stayed throughout this international conference, in spite of the fact that this is quite very late at night in the US where he's based. I really appreciate your presence in today's conference. He gave a lot of knowledgeable information ranging from how AI has been compromised during the pandemic, and moving forward, what we can do to strengthen security systems, especially cybersecurity, to be more resilient for the future ahead. Part of the solutions and recommendations he gave was increasing intelligence and to decrease threat via artificial intelligence. And going forward, he mentioned some dimensions where we can look at predictive analytics, vulnerability, and threat protection. And then he also talked about IT hygiene and email security as a proposition for tomorrow's cybersecurity in the supply chain. Also, he provides solutions on strong risk management policies And he advised companies in tomorrow, in the future, to appoint chief information security officers, and this will help them to perform the functions strictly protecting cybersecurity and also IT systems as a way to bring about more sustainable supply chains for the future. We also had a welcome address given by the head of the research, Honorable Professor Asif. And we had presentations thus far. I must give kudos to our presenters today, Abinaya Raju, Dr. Felis and Ms. Sashikala, and Mohammed Al-Balushi, Priya Dashini, and Rangana Yagi for their very knowledgeable and insightful presentations, sorry about that, and we learned a lot, and going forward we hope that you would always cooperate with us in future events. Concerning the publications for this conference, I see some of you have sent me emails to ask. You will be communicated further how that is going to be happening, because that will be the next step. And just so you know, the presenters and their attendees will be receiving the certificates immediately after the conference is over. Okay, so we had about 165 minutes of academic exercise during this conference, which was a very good one, where we shared knowledge on the subject matter of the conference, which is on supply chain, logistics analytics, maritime and transport logistics, and operations and materials management. Thank you very much, everyone, for your time, for taking out time to attend and give us support. We are very grateful. I would not end this without saying special thanks to our honorable panelists, Professor Bipin and Professor Asif, who has been very helpful, a multitasker in doing a lot of things and putting together this conference. Thank you once again, and God bless you. Before we close, I would like to ask that the head of research in Binary University, Professor Asif, give us closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Dr. Osaro. And indeed, this past 160 minutes, how it passed, could not realize, because so much interactions of innovative ideas from all the paper presenters on the artificial intelligence, logistic analytics, data analytics, automation. So it has given a real insight of the things that are going on globally. And with so much interaction of their thinkings, their thinking process, and their research findings, it was indeed a very interesting session, I must say, from all the paper presenters. And thank you, dear paper presenters, researchers, from wherever you have joined in globally, for the wonderful session and enlightening the audience with your research, with your ideas, and with the recommendations that you have been conducting on this such a informative topic on supply chain. As at the very beginning, our Honorable Vice Chancellor was mentioning that there has been a lot of conferences on impact of COVID-19, but on supply chain, like there are, really very handful. So it's a very technical paper, technical side. But I'm so glad to see so wonderful, innovative ideas starting from your all smart logistics support, artificial intelligence support. Indeed, very good. And looking forward for all the papers that are coming tomorrow. Please join in with us same time tomorrow as well, to get to know the more interesting papers coming up tomorrow as well from around the globe participants. And thank you very much, Dr. Osaro. It has been a wonderful time. Prof. Bipin, thank you very much for your presence here as a moderator. And dear presenters, of course, without you, such platform could not be a success. Thank you for joining in and looking forward for your presence tomorrow. Thank you all. God bless you.
Amen. Thank you. Goodbye, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Professor, did you see that comment?
Hi, Mr. Gerald.
Hi, Prof. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm just seeing your comment now. I didn't notice it earlier on. Could you?
Okay.
Could you
I
ask?
guess I tried to.
Could you make this comment tomorrow in the presentation? I think there will be some papers related to this area, and that will be a very good addition. Okay. I don't
Yes,
know how I
definitely.
skipped it.
I can do that, Prof. Not a problem at all.
Okay then. Okay, that's great. See you tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Have a splendid evening. Good night.
You too. Bye.